Welcome back, players. I'm Jack with 36 Cancel. Coco the Wise Cat is currently tripping balls on catnip and thus is not in the room with me. But what I've got in front of me is a Fujimi Fantasia Bunko deck, or at least the beginnings of one. I've been sitting on this deck for a while just waiting to sleeve it up, but I've been kind of busy with other things. Obviously, I work in a hospital, so that's been keeping me busy, and I've been involved in the Weiss Schwarz Invitationals. Little news on that, I did go 0-2 scrub out, unfortunately. Round 1, I ran into some pretty bad beats, just triggering climaxes and drawing them, and my opponent really didn't play any level 3s the entire 2 games, and it was pretty bad. Round 2, though, I played against a yellow-red Goblin Slayer deck when I was playing Priestess, and we had some really awesome games. I did go 0-2 there, but they were really good games, really enjoyable, and pretty funny to watch. So check those out on the channel I linked when I dropped that video about the Invitationals. And they're still going on. We're only in round 2, and there are going to be at least 4 or 5 rounds. In fact, I just watched yesterday a stream of Riaz, who is the 2-time world champion for Weiss Schwarz, take down the opponent that beat me in round 1 with SALization. So we'll be watching that with great interest. Anyway, back to what I have in front of me. I've got 4 SP Harunas and 4 SR Seraphims. Now, I don't care too much for Haruna as a character. She's from Korwa Zombie Deska as a Seraphim, but Seraphim is pretty good. Second best girl, second only to Tominori, but she is still pretty good. And both of these cards are pretty good. I'm not going to go too far into Fantasia Bunko. I did make a set preview of it, and I'm only going to probably make one deck, and this is going to be it. But I've got 2 of my favorite cards from the set in front of me, playsets of them. So I wanted to build a deck around these, and I'll show you players at home what I came up with and what I'm sleeving up. By no means the final version, but just something I'll be playing around with first to see how it feels. So let's talk about what these 2 cards are. They're both Climax combos. Haruna here climaxes with a wind, and Seraphim combos with a shot. So those are my yellow climaxes. The deck is not mono yellow actually though, it's 3 color. We'll get to that when we go into the actual teching of it, while I sleeve it up in my nice Seraphim sleeves here. But first, let's talk about what these cards do. So first off, we have the level 1 Seraphim. It only has 1 ability. It's a 105k with a climax combo. And when you have the shot in your climax zone, if you reverse her battle opponent, you can do the Bunny Union effect actually, which is if you reverse your opponent, you put the top card of your deck into your stock, and you reveal the top card, and if it's level 1 or higher, you add it to your hand. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the differences between these 2 cards. Bunny Union does actually have a 4k printing, but because if all your characters are magic, she gets plus 2k, she's basically printed 6k. And this card borders anywhere around $30, $40, even $50 I've seen, because it's one of the best level 1s in the game, in English at least. It's a very powerful effect. Seraphim, on the other hand, even at her SR version, is only around $5 to $10, depending on who you're asking, and that's pretty much only because of this awesome art. The regular version of Seraphim, which I have in front of me here, is, while cute, not exactly amazing, but it's also $1, sometimes 50 cents, depending on where you look. So it's amazing to think about what a difference 1k actually makes, Bunny Girl being 6k and Seraphim being 5k. Now, that's obviously not the only reason they have such a high difference in price and playability. Obviously, Konosuba has one of the most busted supports. Ambush Union here has one of the best finishing combos, Megumin, and has some of the best early plays, like, where is she? Like Mesmerizing Water Goddess Aqua. And this deck is ridiculous, honestly. Konosuba is still a monster in English. But it just goes to show you can't judge cards on their ability alone. However, I did do my best to support Seraphim here, so we'll see how that goes for me. Next up, I've got the level 3 Climax combo, Tsundere Magical Arms Girl Haruna. The regular version of her art, again, not amazing. That's why I went in on the SPs. They're actually not that expensive at all. Regular version, not amazing, honestly. And while she's never been my cup of tea personally, this card definitely is. This has 2 abilities. First, You can pitch a card and stock heal when she comes in, which is pretty good. And she has a climax combo with the wind that when she attacks, you can pay 3 and you can just burn 4 on attack. Very similar to Last Shot Xenon, but instead of paying 2, you're paying 3, and you don't have to pitch a card. And that's a pretty powerful effect because you can still side and everything. So she stock heals to help pay for her own effect or pay for more copies of herself, and she burns 4 on attack with a climax. Again, not bad at all. These two are probably, again, some of my favorite cards from Bunko, and I wanted to make a deck surrounding them. I'm very well aware that there are more aggressive finishing combos, well, aggressive might be the wrong word, but more consistent, I should say, finishing combos in Bunko. Definitely more consistent level 1 combos, you know, in the form of the level 1 Nobunaga that is also a wind. You can run 8 wind yellow, which is also a pretty interesting build in Fujimi, but I probably won't get into that because we're on a timetable here. I've got a lot to do before July, which is when Slime comes out, and you're going to see a lot of deck text there. So without further ado, let's just get started. You know what these cards do, so let's talk about the shell I made for them. Got my oversleeves, I got my Seraphim sleeves here. We'll sleeve those up in a second. I'm going to put these aside. And we'll talk about what I've built around them as I sleeve it up. Now, some of these are still in the packaging from when I ordered them, so I'll do my best to not be obnoxious when I unsleeve them. Speaking of opening, though, let's open up these Seraphim sleeves. These are Bushiroad official sleeves, pretty cool. Let's just get started. Running low on oversleeves. When I was looking for these oversleeves, I thought I had some more smooth ones because I like these more than the smooth ones, and this deck isn't probably going to be one I play too much, so I wanted to use the smooth ones if I had them, but apparently I don't have any more. Just leftovers from when I've been using my other sleeves. So we'll have to order more of those, and we'll see what happens in this day and age. Anyway, let's talk about the level 0 game and how we support this combo at the level 0 step. First, we've got 3 level 0 Stuzica from Emo Emo. She's a tap self search brainstormer, which is always a pretty good effect. And when you trigger check a climax, you just get to add 1k. It's a small ability, but it does add power to the Seraphims because on the climax play they're only 6k, which is not very high power, unfortunately. And she's also a tap self brainstormer, which is really good. So no wonder she's in there. Next up, we have Master and Servant Relationship, Ryas and Issei. It's a 500 power level 0, but when she attacks, you get to add 2500 to a character. And you can add it to itself, which is nice. Again, something that adds power to Seraphim, and both of these characters have the functionality of splashing for red and blue, which are secondary colors. Next, we have Absolute God Kurimu, something. And when she comes in, you can top check, put something on top of your deck or to your waiting room. And when she also comes in, she's a pay 1, clock 1 salvage. Gives us access to our waiting room here, which is nice if we get those. We're running 1 Hard Magic Yuna. She's a 2500 drop searcher from the trial deck. We're running 1 Many Different Festivals U, which is a top check 4 for a climax, a yellow climax specifically. And if you don't add 1, you don't have to discard. We're running 3 Broken Heart Magnum Haruna. I really like this level 0 4K. All your opponent's characters get Encore 2 when she's on the board. But honestly, so long as you're not playing her late game, it's probably one of the best 004K profiles in English. It kind of sucks that it's on all characters, but it is what it is. We're playing her to make sure we don't starve ourselves on yellow because the remainder of our level 0 is blue. And she's, of course, a 004K. Inherited Magic Talent Sistine. She is level 0 from Magical Bastard. I've never watched that either. But when she comes reversed, she's a Ricky. So you top check 3, add a character, and pitch 1. It's very similar to the Goblin Slayer that I run in Priestess, and that effect is invaluable for milling your deck out and filtering your hand. And finally, we have a 2K Origami from Day Day Live. She's just a free runner. Again, gives us some blue and free runs. Not bad at all. So let's start sleeving this up. The only thing that concerns me going into the level 0 at least is it's not very yellow heavy, which means I could get screwed if I'm not careful, because pretty much all of my level 1 game is yellow. But I've got a significant amount of yellow other places in the deck, so I'm not too worried about it. Again, I can always clock a level 3. I'm running 4 of them, so I might level 1 if I really need to. But we'll see. We'll see how this works out. A lot of this is testing. I haven't gone too much into actually playing this deck yet. You're seeing kind of the first attempt, as it were. Speaking of that and what you're seeing, mad props to Platinum Point. He's another Weiss Schwarz YouTuber. I played against him multiple times on the channel, especially in online matches. When I was deck teching this with him and talking about what I was doing, he was the one that suggested I make a red splash, and I really liked the idea because I ended up finding a card in red that I really liked for this deck. Originally, it was only to splash a level 3 Rios, which is a good card in Fantasia Bunko, but there's another card at level 1, which I will show you when we get there, that I really like for this deck, and I really want to see work. We're almost there. Just have to finish sleeving these. Level 0 count is fairly average for what you'd expect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Maybe a little above average, but still for Fujimi Fantasia, with some of the stronger zeros you'll run into, it's to be expected, if not a tad higher than normal. So let's leave those up at the top for now and go right into the level 1. Obviously, we talked about Seraphim before. Let's get her out of her cases here, ready to get sleeved up. Isn't she beautiful? There is textured foiling on this card. It's like snowflakes or something. It's pretty cool. Got our play set here. I'll put those away. And next, we'll talk about my other character at level 1. Beautiful Swordsman Mitsuhide. Another card from Fantasia Bunko that I don't think gets enough credit for how good it is. She's a 1045. During your turn, she gets +5 for each other, so making her pretty much a 1065 on your turn. And she has Hand Encore. So she's a 1065 with Hand Encore on your turn. Sure, she's going to get reversed on your opponent's turn, but Hand Encore. Not a bad profile at all for a 1-0. The top end of the deck is kind of stock heavy. This is definitely what we want to see in terms of just fielding something that's going to stay around. And in general, I think it's one of the strongest 1-0 profiles I've ever seen on a card, honestly. That's not like a super broken climax combo like Aaron. So I guess I shouldn't say that, but it's definitely one of the strongest like non-climax 1-0s that I think you could run, at least in Fantasia. It's pretty good. All things considered. I've never watched the show. I don't really care for the art. But the profile, it's there. So I'm running 7 characters at level 1, and I'm running 3 events. This is where the red splash comes in. I really like this event with Vampire Ninja Sarah because it adds power and it filters. It's a 1/1 brainstorm event where you flip over the top 3. You choose one level X or lower Fantasia Bunko or Student Council character in your waiting room and salvage it. And then you pump something by 2k and put this into your memory. So if memory compresses, it adds power to Sarah, which she desperately needs, and it mills your deck and gets you a salvage card. Really good. Not a bad event at all. It does cost stock, but hopefully you'll be refunded by Sarah. Of course, it's not bad late game either. You can pump power if you need to. So I'm actually only running 10 level 1s. So that's where our level 1 is going to end. We'll see how I'm Echo of Deck works out. Definitely a more experimental choice in terms of what I could put into the deck, but I really like it on paper with Sarah. We'll see how it works out. Worth mentioning that the 1 stock here is pretty much for the effect of putting it in memory, and the plus 2k because there are other events that are 2-0 and 1-0 that tornado and mill 3 and salvage. But again, hopefully that's going to be refunded by Sarah and could give you a free card while you're at it, so it should pay for itself. So let's move to level 2. I've got 3 cards here. One is my 2-1 anti-change backup. It's also a 2-5 backup. Pretty standard. Also, it's a red splash. And I've got 2 Roseweisses here, which are pretty cool. These are level reversers for anti-early play, and they're also 3k backups if you sack them when another character is front attacked. Worth mentioning, you don't have to have this in your center stage, and it doesn't have to be standing or rested. You can do this when she's reversed. So she double threats being able to protect your early plays or your level 1s, or even, you know, a level 3 if you're that desperate, which hopefully you're not, but you know. Multifunctionality. At first I was going to run, where are you? This card, which is an anti-early play that also gets hand encore if you have experience, but I really like the idea of just having this as a free one, just free 3k backup if something needs to survive. Make Seraphim 8k. So that's my level 2. Let's talk about level 3. We already know about the Haruna, so let's talk about what I've got supporting her. First up, I've got 3 Rumias here. This is the 3/2/9k also from Magical Bastard. If you have 4 or more, she gets -1 level. When she's placed on the stage, you can choose one Fantasia or magic character in your clock and put it in your memory, so she heals to memory, which is pretty good for your compression. And you can pay 1 and put 2 cards from your hand into the waiting room when she's played, and you can give her plus X power, or give another card, yes, one of your other characters, I'm sorry, plus X power until the end of turn where X is equal to that character's power. So you can pay 1 and pitch 2 to double the power of any character on your stage, which at level 2 and 3 could be pretty useful. It can act as a pay 1, pitch 2 anti-change if you're just facing something that's early playing but you're looking to reverse it anyway. And if you play this on like a level 3 event, not event, but character that's already had 10k power, you can get that character to like 20k, 22k with a climax and some back rows, 24k with I Am Echo of Death. Pretty good. That can reverse even Reinhardt, which is pretty insane when you think about it. So healing early play helps us solidify our stage. You can protect her with this Roseweiss too, which is nice. You can get her to 12k instead of her 9k, which is pretty small, unfortunately. But still, heals to memory, compresses, stabilizes you, gives you something on the board that swings for 2 soul. And with I Am Echo of Death also going to your memory, there's actually 6 cards that memory kick in this deck, which is good for your compression as well. On the finishing line, I'm also running 2 Head of the Oda family Nobuna. She is a level 3 that when she comes in, just searches for Fantasia Bunko for free, or Sengoku character, but pretty much everything's going to be Fantasia Bunko. And when she attacks, you can pay 1 and pitch 1, and if you do, all of your other characters get plus 500 power and plus 1 soul till the end of turn, so she can add soul for big swings or add soul for cheeky sides, which is really useful, and she's a searcher, also really useful. Next up, we've got Devilish Smile Rias. This was the original red splash that Platinum had recommended. I still like the idea, so I'm putting 2 of her in. When she comes in, you can choose 1 character in your hand equal to your level and put it on the stage, which means you can free play any of these level 3s, and when the card, one more effect on that, when that character comes in, it gets plus 1 soul and demon until end of turn, which again allows you to either swing big or get some really good side attacks in for precision damage. Pretty effective. And when she attacks, this card gets plus X power. Pardon me. Plus X power till the end of turn, where X is number of Fantasia Bunko or Demon times 1000. So she can become a 14k on attack to reverse pretty much anything. Finally, obviously we have the Harunas. The big pay 3, burn 4 on attack. It's a really strong profile. I really like it. The SP also isn't very expensive, so it was really just cool to grab these and sleeve up a deck with them. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to sleeve this up, and we're going to start testing it out. A few other cards that I considered in the making of this deck, by the way, are the 2/1 backup that's actually a 3/5 backup, a Timid Hermit, Yoshino, which is a tap 2, top check 3 after you pay 1 for a character. The early play that has early play on 5 or less, gets power and salvages. The Diva of Temptation Miku, which has a few functionality, including pay 2, tap itself heal, tap itself give 2,500, and bottom deck some cost zeros. The event, no coming in between, but it ended up being a little stock heavy. And Frail Exorcist Hanbei, which is the on climax, clock yourself, top check 4 for level 1 or higher. Speaking of level 1 or higher, it's worth mentioning that there's some synergy between I Am Echo of Death and Sarah as well. Sarah grabs any level 1 or higher card, just like Yun from Konosuba. So if you hit I Am Echo of Death, you can add that to your hand. Pretty good. You can also add the 3/3 event, the 3/4 event, Impenetrable Moment or No Coming in Between, depending on how you translate it. Which, again, I thought was pretty cool, and that was in my original version of the deck, but it was just going to be too much stock. Speaking of too much stock and being a little too top-heavy, when I was playing in the Invitational, I think I made some decisions about how I was going to handle my Priestess deck going forward. I'm going to make some changes to it from what I had deck-teched earlier when I first started it. It's been doing very well for me, obviously. I've won multiple tournaments with it. I've gotten a lot of shop challenges down with it. And I took it to Fall Fest last year. No. Now see, players, this is what happens when COVID-19 hits. You just lose your memory completely. You just lose track of everywhere you've been, all the things you've done, because it's been so long since you've taken any vacations or been out and done things. I've not taken Goblin Slayer anywhere amazing yet because it just dropped in January, and I was going to take it to Springfest this year, but of course Springfest was canceled early on due to COVID, and it looks like Fall Fest has been canceled too, unfortunately. Regardless, since it came out, it's been doing very well for me, but I'm going to make some changes to make it a little more consistent. And as I consider and playtest those, I might make a discussion video on it, I might not. We'll see. Anyway, we're just about done sleeving this up. We got our 4 wins here and our 4 shot. Wind is another really good anti-early play trigger, especially in the English where the format's just dominated by early plays. Shot, not as good as wind in some cases, but sometimes shot's what you want, and it's not a terrible trigger. It's not good when you're trying to level lock someone or like do precision damage so they don't get access to higher level cards, but outside those situations it's definitely good to deal more damage to your opponent. So, got our 50 cards here. You have 8, 12, 14, 16, 19, 21, 22, 25, 28, 32, 35, 38, 41, 42, 43, 45, 47, 50. Feels good, man. And here is our Fujimi deck featuring 2 of the best series in the set, which are Koryu Zombie desu ka and High School DxD. Just a few more notes as I sleeve this up in the over sleeves here so I don't damage the character sleeves. There is a Blue Day Live 3-2 that's a box promo. That is a healing pay 5 pitch an obnoxious amount restander, which I probably would run as a one of if I had it, but I just didn't think it was worth spending the insane amount of money that card costs just for this deck, being I'll probably play it less than 10 times this year. That's the struggle of owning too many Dex players. You just don't get to play them as much as you want. I'm centered, well, not centered, but I'm circling on owning 70 decks for Weiss Schwarz. And that's a lot of decks. You don't get to play them nearly as often as you'd like, and you don't get to practice with them as often as you'd like if you want to keep up circulation, if you want to keep playing different things and keeping the game exciting. I mean, compare that to someone like Riaz, who has played Attack on Titan for almost 3 years, 1 year fully when it came out in set 1, just testing the hell out of it. Then when set 2 came out, winning worlds with AOT 2 years in a row. That is just so much for one deck. And the closest I've ever gotten to that was Standby SAO, which I piloted for about 8 months straight, and now Goblin Slayer, which I piloted as my main deck for about 6 months straight, now that it's almost June. Well, almost July, rather. I've got a lot of practice to do with it, too, because I don't get to play nearly as often as I'd like. The Invitationals, by the way, were a great way for me to not only get practice in, but also learn more about the deck. Stepping into the ring with such heavyweights is a really cool experience. No doubt about it. Almost done with level 0 here. Get a little bit of that new oversleeve air out. And again, keep watching for that because the tournament is nowhere near over. I might be out of it, but it's by no means over. There's plenty more exciting games. There's a lot of cool sets in there too. There's someone playing Batman Ninja. There's someone playing Cardcaptor Sakura. You've got a really healthy mix of ReZero, Konosuba, SAO, Goblin Slayer. I think there's one Bunko deck in there. I'm not sure. I can't quite remember. There's Sunshine. There's a big showing. In fact, you could argue this is one of the healthiest metas for a world-class tournament in Weiss Schwarz ever. And right now, the world champion is playing SAO Alicization, which is a set we have not really seen on the world stage before, but apparently he really likes it. So we'll see how it goes for him. So far, he's 2-0 with it, so it can't be that bad. But keep in mind how easy it is to win in Weiss Schwarz just by good fundamentals. One of the things I like about Weiss Schwarz is no matter what deck you're playing, so long as you're playing it effectively, you're not going to get too locked out by sets or decks that are just miles powered above it. Definitely one of my favorite things about the game. Almost done sleeving here. And while I'm just finishing up sleeving, I will talk a little about what's on the horizon. So in a month from now, I'll be getting a case of slime to split with one of my friends. We'll be opening that on camera. It's going to be very cool. It's the first time I've opened a full case on the channel. Look forward to it. And we'll be doing a lot of slime deck techs after that. There's at least 3 that I have planned. And after that, there's a lot of new stuff on the horizon. After Slime, you're going to have Overlord in September. You're going to have ReZero Memory Snow whenever that decides to come out. You're going to have Konosuba, Legend of the Crimson Demons, which I'll probably make a set preview for in the very near future. You're going to have Adventure Time, which I'm guessing, since we don't have a concrete announcement for when it's being released, will likely be around Christmas. But what could contest that is we also just had an announcement that Fate Babylonia is coming to English as well, which again will probably be near November or December for its Christmas release. Making Fate a expansion in Weiss Schwarz that has, well, I guess title in Weiss Schwarz, that has 4 different expansions that cannot be played with the 4 existing central expansions, because you've got Fate Zero, Unlimited Blade Works 1 and 2, and Fate Heaven's Field that can all be played together. However, these cannot be played with Fate Apocrypha, cannot be played with Fate Prisma Ilia, and will not be able to be played with Fate Babylonia. Well, I guess that's only 3, so that's not so bad, but still, you get the idea. And that's a lot of offshoots. Fate's just kind of like that. I should know, I play Fate Go. Don't play gotcha games, kids. And we're just about done. There is an SR version of this Climax I don't own, just haven't gotten around to ordering them yet. Probably will in the near future. Will I go for the SP Rios, the Fantasia SP of that level 3 I've got in here, just to go with the SP Harunas I have? We'll see. It all depends, because I also have to pre-order Overlord too. Good lord. Rip Wallet Coon. Well, here's my deck. Here is my yellow, blue, red kind of mishmash Fantasia Bunko deck centered around Sarah and Haruna. Again, two of my favorite cards in the set, and this is what I decided to build around them. We'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to playtesting this. Hopefully I'll get some games on camera with it so I can post them on the channel. And we'll see if I keep the deck the same or decide to change everything around. God knows I've got enough tech here if I wanted to. But for now, we just have to wait till we find an opponent. And that means it's about time for me to go. So this video's gone on long enough. I appreciate you guys hanging out and just watch me sleeve this up while I talk to you about Weiss 4s. I'm always up for talking about Weiss. I love the game. And making this content has been very enjoyable. My sub count on the channel has continued to go up. I'm never going to specifically tell people to subscribe or like my videos because again, I'm not monetized. I'm not really doing this for numbers, but it's nice to know people like the content. I'm going to try to keep it up. And never hesitate to tell me if you want to see more of one thing or less of another in the comments. I always take the feedback I get on the channel seriously and make sure I'm giving you guys what you want. Because that's what I want to do. Anyway, what I want to do now is just do some goldfish games with the deck and find an opponent, maybe this evening even. See how lucky I am. But in the meantime, I'm going to check on Coco and see if she hasn't broken anything. So, thanks for watching. Peace.